Welcome, dear listeners. I'm Jonathan Carlin.
And I'm Benjamin Carlin.
And we invite you to join us through the Griffin door, your one-way ticket to the enchanting world of Harry Potter. So grab your wands and dust off your broomsticks and join us as we unlock the riddles inside Goblet of Fire, Chapter 17, The Four Champions.
Boy, howdy. If the chapter art was ever more telling about the life that lies before young Harold James Potter the First.
Just alone in the dark.
Well, alone in the, would that be your depiction here? Well, what I see is Harry standing before a long shadow that lies before him. And to me, it sort of suggests this idea that like Harry is about to have to be bigger than who he is, but the shadow of the darkness still lies in front.
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, it honestly reminds me a lot of the like that famous Darth Vader image or Anakin Skywalker image when he's like a little boy and like the shadow is Darth Vader. That's obvious. I mean, Harry is not Voldemort, so it's not very applicable in that regard.
Not as ominous.
Not as ominous. I mean, it's fairly ominous in terms of Harry is going to be alone moving forward in many ways. Like he will slowly start moving more and more towards his like chosen one path moving forward here. I mean, he's literally just now been like singled out and chosen by the Goblet of Fire.
Yes, of course. But this chapter in particular, I feel like is going to focus a lot on like Harry being so much younger than everybody else. Like everybody else is going to come across as looking impressive, as looking tall, even like physically like larger than he is. Yeah. So I mean, there's honestly, I think it's like really, really great chapter art. Like I think it's top tier.
Same. I really do like this one. It gives you that big sense of just like loneliness of like standing apart, and that's pretty much how Harry's going to feel for a good, at least certainly up towards the first task.
Yes.
Coming in and like after he gets back to like the common room and how Ron's going to treat him and stuff like that. The other thing that's going to be really big in this chapter is almost everything every adult character says besides Dumbledore will be a red herring for that character.
Yeah, this book is it's fascinating the way that it's structured, because red herrings are not uncommon within, like the Harry Potter saga. Like all through year one, you are all but certain it's Snape. Like even down to the moment that like Harry walks into that final chamber, he's like, it's like you, but I thought Snape. And and Quirrell's like, he seems the type, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, he totally did.
He does seem the type.
The whole time. Mm-hmm. Then I want to say in Chamber of Secrets, and I know we harped on it every single time, is Percy. Oftentimes.
There's like Percy is like a red herring for you, the reader, and then Harry really thinks it's Draco.
Yes,
for a while,
right? Yeah. Then you have the whole Polyjuice situation.
Yeah,
and then even in Prisoner of Azkaban, like it's maybe not even like a red herring so much, but just the idea that like Sirius, who we believe to be a bad guy the entire time, based on the words on page, turns out to not be, and then out of nowhere it's like it's Peter,
right?
But this book is sort of like, okay, I've made you suspicious of people that you're not supposed to pay attention to, and somehow it works so well again, that like Moody is right there, and you were like, could it be Crumb? Could it be Karkaroff?
Not only is Barty Crouch Jr. just in the room, he will spend this chapter telling you his plan.
Yes.
Straight up, word for word, exactly what he did.
Yes. It's about to be explained to us how it goes. I think Karkaroff, at the very least in the movies, I know he does it. I can't even remember if he does on page or not, but he's like, you seem to have given this an awful lot of thought.
Yes, he does. And then he counters it beautifully. He's like, it was once my job to think the way dark wizards do, Karkaroff.
Right.
Perhaps you should remember. And he just turns it on him so quick, and it's like, not only does he like give a convincing answer that the real Alistair Moody would say, he turns it into a threat towards Karkaroff to make you think he's even more threatening, just reminding you that he's a dark wizard, and
he's also telling the truth. Like it used to be his job to think the way that dark wizards do, because he is in fact was and still is a dark wizard.
And so that is his job. And so it's like on all three levels, it is like boom, boom, boom. It is, I mean,
Click goes the lock.
Karkaroff, he tries to serve up an ace and he has nothing for it. It is a perfect return.
Yeah.
That's the only real one in here. And that is also like another good like writing trick, is to have the most credible suspicion come from the least credible source.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. So lots and lots of things going on here. The other one that I think is going to surprise me, that like throughout the course of this particular chapter is like so few people I feel are going to be transfixed by the fact that there are 4 champions. Like I feel like Ron is going to be frustrated with Harry for like his name coming out of the goblet and for like hoodwinking it. Like nobody really seems to be preoccupied on the fact that the Tri-Wizard tournament has 4 people competing.
Right.
They're all like, Harry, how'd you do it? And it's like, why did the goblet do it?
Yeah, no one seems to care about that. They're all just impressed. It seems like everyone's base reaction is just like, Harry found a way to trick it, and that's amazing.
Yes, yeah,
right.
And it's like, but like it didn't trick it to the point of like making him Hogwarts champion. It tricked it to the tune of making a 4th school altogether apparently he singularly represents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then the other thing that Harry will. What drives it home is that Harry will refuse to bring up one really, really important thing, or maybe it's not even true, but I think it is that he will not say here or ever to anyone, I don't want to compete in the tournament. Like that is what he needs to say right here. To be like, I didn't put my name in. I don't want to compete. That is what he is not saying.
Right.
That is what, because everyone is under the assumption they're like, why would you, like, how could you like, no one thinks there's any chance you wouldn't want to given the opportunity.
That's exactly it. Yeah. It's like, given, it's like from Harry's perspective, he's like, I'm about to be stacked up against really like much more trained wizards in which than myself. And it's going to be death-defying acts. And it's going to be in front of a live studio audience.
Right.
Like he's like, I don't want any of, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But of course, everybody else has propped it up. I mean, I think the Fred and George wanting to get their names in aspect of it. Like even that is kind of curious that there's so much emphasis placed on Fred and George from a writing perspective, wanting to get their names in. But like, had it not been for the age line, would we ever have really thought that Fred and George would do this? Like, does it seem in keeping with their character? Don't they? I mean, they surely must realize that it would be one of the two of them. And they are such like a package deal kind of like entity.
I don't think I ever would have, like, even reading it the first time, I don't think I ever would have thought that Fred or George would have been the champion.
Sure.
Like,
right. Yeah, exactly. But so I feel like what their involvement is doing, especially to Ron, maybe of all people, is making this idea of getting your name in seem so desirable, so aspirational. Like,
right.
Of course, everybody wants
not even
this.
Just being chosen, but just getting your name in.
Right.
Like
yes.
Tricking the age line is as much of a feat as just being chosen.
Sure. Yeah. It's like I'm not going to get picked, but I got my name in.
But I got in. I tricked the line or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
You're right.
So anyway, I mean, lots and lots of stuff kind of going on inside of this chapter, but I do think it'll be a good one to sit down and break down here. But of course, we're going to be picking up right where we left off, which basically was Harry's name coming out of the goblet. So literally the last words we have is Harry Potter. And of course, the thing that I think stood out to me as well is the fact that there is no name, there's no school attached to the name. So it's like that's probably your first tell that this is not the Durmstrang champion. It's not even the Hogwarts champion as far as the cup is concerned.
Right.
Like, this is just
we don't know what school he's entered under.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. It doesn't seem like there is one in like specifically. So Harry sat there, aware that every head in the Great Hall had turned to look at him. He was stunned. He felt numb. He was surely dreaming. He had not heard correctly.
I know. Wild turn of events, because otherwise, like, so far, it's been a very normal year for Harry.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy about his school year has happened at all, other than like not having Quidditch. But
Right.
Usually by now it's like Sirius Black is on the loose and he's hunting for you. Or I guess the chamber maybe hadn't been opened yet, but he like flew the car to school and he, got hit or couldn't get through the barrier.
Right.
So like some weird things. And then his first year, it's just like, well, it's his first year. So, everything's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
they go to the three-headed dog. Yeah.
I was going to say, and I think by now he would have already been attacked on the broomstick against Slytherin.
Yeah.
So that
I think you're right.
Too.
So so a bunch of weird things have already happened. This year, nothing crazy has happened at all. He has just been going to class. He hasn't been involved, and suddenly someone has involved him in the plot. So it is like a little bit more like, I remember, that's why it's so shocking, because you're just like sort of reading and you're like, what does this have to do with Harry? And it's like, oh.
yeah. How ridiculous is it that you can get this far into it and it's still like a total like jaw drop moment that his name comes out and it's like, of course, like it's called Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Right.
I mean, and maybe that's why it's not called Harry Potter and the Triwizard Tournament. Right. Because it does seem like maybe
then it's just like, well, duh, Harry's going to be in it.
Precisely. Yeah. It's like Harry Potter and viewing the Triwizard Tournament.
Right.
That seems like a fun book to read.
Right. Even if his name came out anywhere but last, it would be a little, it'd still be surprising, but like, because you think it's completely over. You're like, okay, even if you thought like, oh, I'm sure Harry's going to get in, but it's like 1, 2, 3, and it's like, oh, he didn't get in. That's interesting. Oh, wait, he did.
He did. Okay.
There
it is.
Yeah.
So we almost got away. Okay, there was no applause, so this sort of speaks to, I think, the general sense of like holy crappedness,
yes,
that the rest of the room seems to be feeling. Let's see here. Up at the top table, Professor McGonagall had got to her feet and swept past Ludo Bagman, and Professor Cockcroft whispered urgently to Professor Dumbledore, who bent his ear towards her, frowning slightly. This, I think, is another one of those moments where like McGonagall, I think, really. You don't ever think of her as somebody who plays favorites. And even the way that I think she does with Harry is very reserved. But she does buy him or at least facilitates him getting on the team, the Quidditch team.
Yeah, and getting him the Nimbus.
Yeah. And then eventually with Umbridge, she will be like, I will train Harry Potter every single day until he is an Auror if I have to.
I would have loved to see that play out too, for what it's worth. That would have just like, Harry now had private tutoring with McGonagall.
Yeah, it's like, how good does he get at everything?
Everything's just like, yeah, let's just go ahead and supercharge Harry. He's already been doing DA by himself to supercharge himself there. Now with McGonagall's help, oh my God, I'm really good at potions, and I'm like really good at transfiguration, especially,
Yes. Yeah. I think he would just skyrocket in his abilities. But I do think this is another one where I feel like McGonagall is first and foremost looking out for like his just general well-being. Like she is like, this shouldn't happen. What do we do? This shouldn't happen.
Yeah. But then I love that it says Dumbledore, who bent his ear toward her, frowning slightly. And it's like Dumbledore, he's almost been waiting for something like this to happen. Cause like to him, he's like, it's Voldemort. Like he knows immediately like this is oh no.
Yes. We also know that Dumbledore has largely been anticipating his return. There's the letter from Sirius earlier in this book where it's like, Dumbledore must be reading the signs even if nobody else is. Like, chances are Sirius, Dumbledore, they're both on the exact same page. They both know that strange things are ramping up, and this is like the just absolute proof in the pudding. Yep. This is happening.
This is bad. It's like, not only is it happening, it is like, okay, maybe there is some extra Death Eater activity. Maybe like that doesn't necessarily mean Harry specifically is in danger. No, he's in danger. Okay.
He's okay. Yeah.
He is a target in some capacity. And then like, even the way it's concealed is like, the idea is just to kill him by having him play in the tournament. It's like, that's what everyone pretty much thinks the plan is.
Right.
But it's not. It's to get him to win the tournament. It's so sneaky.
Which is so ridiculous. It plays beautifully into the Barty Crouch cover with Bad Eye Moody, because it's like he can give him all the help in the world, and then of course all of us are sitting here like, why would he? He couldn't be.
He's trying to protect him by helping him.
Yeah, exactly. You want to make sure he's okay.
Exactly.
This next little exchange though, Hermione reads it correctly. Like she's gonna say, I could tell by the look on your face that you didn't put your name in.
Yeah.
Ron, I think Harry's response, both in the movies, I've maybe have talked about this before. The moment that Daniel Radcliffe is acting and doing the response to this particular moment, I think is one of his just overall better acting moments in the series. Like him as Harry in that moment, in the look of like, what happened? Like, and he's sort of like half standing and then like sort of like sits down and like is trying to like make himself look small. He does a really good job of being like, I didn't do this. Like, I did not do this.
Yeah.
And I can't believe, so I didn't put my name in, Harry said blankly. You know I didn't. Both of them stared just as blankly back.
Yeah. So, but, and like, they're both feeling very different things because like Hermione is definitely just sort of like, concerned and afraid. Like, wait, what? How did this happen? Like, but Ron, on the other hand, is immediately just feeling jealous.
Yes.
And just like or possibly even in this moment, he's just in disbelief that Harry would not have included him in this plan.
Yeah. I mean, and I think even the way that Hermione will explain it here in just a few pages, I think there's a huge sense of like, probably for Ron, like, are you kidding me? Like, again?
Yeah.
You know, because like, that's what Hermione's going to point out to Harry. Is just sort of like, you know, he plays second fiddle to you all the time. And he doesn't talk about it, but like this maybe was just one too far. And so you have to imagine that for Ron, he's like, come on. Like,
right.
No.
Yeah. I mean, clearly that is what's going on because he's not going to talk to Harry for like another like month here.
Right. And I think that like whenever it's like Harry's being like targeted by potentially Sirius Black and there's like all these like other dangers, it's like it's all so outside of his zone. And again, it kind of goes back to the Fred and George thing. Like this absolutely suggests that not only did Harry end up getting even more attention than he did, but it means that Harry excluded him from his process.
Well, yeah, and it's like so often like Harry might get a lot of attention, but he's not like seeking it out. It's just sort of like happening to him.
Yes.
Like, or like, you know, he gets on the Quidditch team. He wasn't trying to do that, but in defending Neville, he ended up on it. So like, and you know, Ron's just met him. It's like, oh my God, you're Harry Potter. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And then like Sirius Black, it's like, yes, he keeps coming in, apparently trying to attack Harry, although actually Peter, and everyone's like very concerned about it. But like, obviously, Harry's getting a lot of attention. Nothing he did, like, not his fault.
Right.
Not his fault. Everyone thinks Harry's the one breaking into the Chamber of Secrets, getting a lot of attention. Not his fault. Doesn't even know he can talk to snakes.
Right.
You know, kind of thing. But this one, especially for Ron, the difference is that there's no way Harry's name could have gotten in the fire if Harry didn't do it.
Right.
So it's like those times, they weren't your fault. They weren't your fault. I get it. It was bad. Not your fault. This time, you sought it out and didn't include me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because even that, you know, it's like if he had found a way to get it in, Harry's name came out, and you know it's between Harry and Ron, it would be sort of like, well, you know, like
right, yeah. If they both got it in, and then Harry got it, it's like, well, I didn't think whatever, but we both did it together.
Exactly.
But boy, imagine if Harry and Ron were both in the Triwizard Tournament.
Just imagine for one hot second,
what that might look like. Wow, if only 2 YouTubers had written a whole series about it.
This is What If Ron Was in Hufflepuff.
What if Ron was in Hufflepuff? Check it out.
So if you want to check out that entire series, spoilers for episode
4,
hopefully 4,
5, 6, 7.
I think it takes 3 episodes just to get through Goblet of Fire. But anyway,
Really
not the
good 3
point.
episodes.
As we scoot forward, Harry Potter, Dumbledore called again. Harry, up here, if you please. And Hermione says, "Go on." And kind of give him like a little push. The if you please, I think is kind of interesting because we've been talking a lot about this idea of strength of character directly related to the Imperius curse. Dumbledore, I think, is going to do a great job throughout this chapter in the books of maintaining this kind of like degree of politeness.
Yeah.
You know, in the face of a bunch of otherwise angry people. I feel like that just is like one of those things that I think definitely also speaks to the idea that like Dumbledore would be very difficult to Imperius.
Absolutely.
Is that the core of his being is this idea of politeness?
Do you think there's any part of Dumbledore that is like just who thinks like, you know what, maybe Harry did just get his name in, you know?
Like outside chance.
Like outside chance. Maybe it's not Voldemort. Harry up like I gotta act like I'm congratulating you, of course. Because like what if Harry did just confund it and got his name in? That'd be pretty cool.
He'd be like, at that point, is he proud or frustrated? Like, come on.
Yeah. That might be like, Harry,
I'm trying to keep you safe, man.
Yeah. It's like, you're the chosen one. You can't die. And like, well, why didn't you tell me that? Like, because I wanted you to have a childhood. And in that childhood, I wanted to play a game.
Sounds like
Dumbledore's like, I've been defeated in sound. I've been defeated by my own logic.
Yeah. Hoisted upon my own petard.
Hoisted indeed.
Anyway, Harry got to his feet, trod on the hem of his robes, which again, that's like another one of this, like this idea of like clumsiness is going to contrast rather significantly with like almost the grandeur of the other champions who seem to have like a suave nature about them.
Right.
Yeah. Like a coolness.
Very coolness. Like when they're all silhouetted against the fireplace. Feels like an immensely long walk up to the table, which I feel like that's such a, I love that description because I feel like everyone's had that moment where you're just like, oh my gosh, I just got to get across this room. And it's like, this is the worst walk of my life. Got to make it. And everyone is looking at me. I know. So I'm about to just drop my lunch tray. Gosh.
Right. Yeah. It does say hundreds and hundreds of eyes were upon him. And I was trying to do quick math on this one because I was like, is it hundreds and hundreds? And it's pretty darn close. If our math is correct and you've got, let's see here, 5 boys, 5 girls in each year, then that gives us what? 10 times 7. Did I do this wrong?
Right. Yeah. There's 10 students. So 40 students per year.
Oh, yes. Okay. I did do it right. Yeah.
Okay. So 40 students per year, 7 years, 280 students.
280 students plus about a dozen each from the other schools would get you to like 304 plus teachers, so like maybe like 315 people.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so hundreds and hundreds. Yeah,
hundreds and hundreds.
That's how many hundreds.
But then double it because it's eyes, right? Yeah. So 600 eyes, basically.
630 eyes.
There you go.
There we go. Well, through the door, Harry, said Dumbledore. He wasn't smiling. And this, just a note that I had written in here because I think in the last chapter, Harry had wondered to himself, like, I wonder how Dumbledore would react if I had successfully got my name into the Goblet of Fire. So that's the reaction.
Not smiling. I think he's not smiling, but I don't think he's like, it's not out of anger or disappointment. It's just out of like just straight up concern.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, just like, oh no. And then even Hagrid says he looks completely astonished. So like, he's not even like impressed or like excited. He's just like, what? How? But what? This is wild.
Yep. So then we scoot forward, and Harry is finding himself in the smaller chamber that just beyond the Great Hall. And it says the faces of the portraits turned to look at him as he entered. He saw a wizened witch flit out of the frame of her picture and into the one next to it. This is going to be Violet, who will ultimately be in the portrait with the fat lady at the end of the chapter.
Yes.
She's the one who's like spreading the rumor rather quickly throughout the castle, so everyone is going to find out very fast,
very quickly. But who she's whispering to here is she flits into a frame which contained a wizard with a walrus mustache. Who, dare I say, Ben, do you think it is possible that this is one Horace Slughorn?
I think it's possible.
I think it's very possible because
he's
at this
a former
point
head of house.
He's just a former head of house, and as far as anyone knows, he's just retired forever.
Right.
This isn't like on prominent display. It's just on a hallway off the Great Hall.
Right.
Seems like a great spot for like a celebrated potion head of house person to be like. It feels like there should be a portrait of him somewhere in the castle.
Almost certainly, yeah. I mean, you figure that like once a headmaster steps down from their role, I guess we don't know what happens to our Armando Dippet, but he's probably passed away by the time Harry gets there. But he has a painting in the headmaster's office.
Yeah,
and so it's like if not in the headmaster's office where portraits like this might exist, I mean, yeah, I think it totally stands to reason that they would have significant past faculty honored.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And just consider what's happening here. We know that Violet and the fat lady are like big drinkers, as it were.
Yep.
When they get together, we know Slughorn likes to host a party.
He does.
Likes his creature comforts, as it were. And not only that, this is the first person Violet is telling a secret to, which is also kind of like a big Slughorn thing, like collect all of the information. So it seems like Violet's like, I gotta tell Slughorn.
Right.
Yes. Right away.
This will spread like wildfire.
So I mean, tell us what you think. I think fun headcanon. There's also, it hurts nothing at all if this picture is Slughorn.
Exactly. Yeah. That or Vernon Dursley.
Or Dursley, yeah.
Yeah, which feels less likely.
Less likely.
Yeah, on the whole.
Yeah, it feels like Harry would have taken note. What?
Yeah, you got to be no. So Harry enters the next room. Victor Crumb, Cedric Diggory, and Fleur Delacour were grouped around the fire. They looked strangely impressive, silhouetted against the flames.
Yeah.
Crumb, hunched up and brooding, was leaning against the mantelpiece, slightly apart from the other two.
There you go, slightly apart. That's gonna Crumb will always be off to the side.
Which, it's like, what I feel like what we will ultimately learn about Crumb is going to have to do way more with his personality. He also doesn't love the limelight. He is talented. He is in the limelight.
And he loves flying and is super good at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that this is a tiny little morsel of red herring bait, because I think that this idea that the students of Durmstrang are taught the dark arts.
Exactly.
He could be up to foul play.
Yes. Yeah. So and this is where it begins. This is the first thing. The rest of this chapter is red herring bait. And this is the very first one. Slightly apart from the other two. There you go. Crumb. Throw shade at him. Cedric was standing with his hands behind his back, staring into the fire. I can only imagine the gravity of the situation is now setting upon him, where he's it's probably to this point you're so excited about the prospect of getting chosen, and to this point you're like, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into?
Yes, yeah, yep, absolutely. Yep. Although there is a little bit of you learn a little bit about each of these characters rather quickly. I mean, one, obviously Crumb standing apart, so he's the kind of person who does sort of separate himself from the crowd. Cedric, I feel has kind of got this almost stoic vibe to him, which I feel fits with Cedric. Mm-hmm. And then Fleur is immediately going to be the one who maybe is quicker to throw back her long sheet of silver hair. She's like, do they want us back in the hall? And she thinks that Harry's there to deliver a message.
Yeah.
So maybe a small little morsel of superiority or something.
Superiority. Yeah. And then it says, it struck him how very tall all of them were, which I absolutely remember that from being in high school.
Yes.
Even when I think back about it now, being in ninth grade, looking up at the seniors, being oh my God, they're huge.
Absolutely. No, I mean, there was a guy on our cross country team named Lee who I swear as a senior in high school looked older than I do now,
right,
as a 35-year-old.
Right. When I remember their faces from high school, I still feel like they're older than me.
Yes.
Obviously they are, because they were old. That's how, time works. But them in high school still feel older than me now.
Yes, exactly.
As an adult. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. There's this weird, oh my God. And it's they're not that much taller, because you're in the middle of puberty. You might be taller than them, honestly.
It's possible.
Depending. Yeah. Right. Who's to say? But in any case, that is the feeling, and there is this sense of I'm smaller than you, I'm weaker than you, I don't know as much as you.
Yep,
kind of thing.
Absolutely. Then we have Ludo Bagman shooting into the hallway, and he's just, he immediately declares extraordinary and absolutely extraordinary, gentlemen, lady, incredible though it may seem, the fourth Triwizard champion.
Yep.
And I think it's interesting with Ludo, because he seems to recognize the opportunity
at lightning speed.
At lightning speed. Because at this point in time, he is one of the people responsible for putting together the whole tournament. This is something that has gone wildly wrong. The one new rule that they have imposed has already been overtaken.
Right.
This should seem like a complete failure upon his department.
Right.
And yet he is just instantly jazzed.
He is excited, which is shade being thrown at him. Everyone else seems to have reacted in the same way, not him. He's happy about this.
Right.
Everyone else thinks Harry's in terrible danger, but he's this is good. And you're supposed to be why does he think it's good that Harry's in danger?
Yes. And then, so immediately what happened for him was he was I just had a candidate go, if everybody else was basically, if you want to call Cedric a favorite, it's maybe he's plus 100 odds. All of a sudden, this is plus 1,000 odds.
Oh, I know. like, and the speed at which he arrives at it speaks to how desperate he is already.
Yes.
He is like looking for anything.
Any way out.
And this, he thinks, is going to be it.
Right.
And you'll notice like he almost rushed back there, and he's going to try and just sort of like skim over it, get everyone just sort of like announce it. Yep, this is it. It's done. Move on. Let's not ask any questions about it, because here we go.
Right. Yeah, there's going to be a couple of situations where it's definitely going to seem like he's like, are we sure that those are the rules? And he's like, yeah, those are the rules.
Those are the rules. Don't even worry about it. Probably don't even need to go check or anything. Because I'm like 98% sure this is how it works. So,
right.
Yeah. Floor is not hearing it. She's like, "Oh, very funny joke, Mr. Bagman." It's like, okay, yeah. She's very condescending in this chapter. Joke? No, not at all. Harry's name just came out of the Goblet of Fire. So yeah, it's like, it is surprising how quickly he is fast at it. And then you get even more shade. He says, "Well, it is amazing." He said, smiling down at Harry. And this is supposed to make you think that his plan has just worked.
Yes, of course. And again, I mean, it's interesting to look at the other people in the room. You've got Chrome's thick eyebrows contracted slightly. Cedric is still looking politely bewildered.
Yeah.
And so this is something we talked about last chapter as well. But it's like, once again, the word politely is included there. We got a strength of character situation with Cedric. Like, he can't be Imperius.
Can't be Imperius. There it is. Yeah. It's so polite, calm, nice, good guy right here. He's just sort of like, I'll wait till I hear things out.
Precisely.
Yeah, exactly. But then, Bagman even points out, he's like he knows exactly what the loophole must be. He's like, oh, well, the age line was only imposed as an extra safety measure. It's like, once your name's in there, the goblet doesn't care.
Exactly.
Like, we can't tell the goblet that, but as long as you get it in, he's like, oh, that must be it. So it makes it sound like Ludo has thought his way through.
It definitely does seem that way. And then we kind of get the line that we've always been sort of hung up on a little bit in the past, which is like, if Harry's not supposed to be in it, like, why does he have to compete? Like, why not just be like, okay, like his name was, obviously this is a problem. Obviously we can't disrespect the other two schools who have come here. Like,
right.
This is bad for international relations on a variety of different levels. Just have him do nothing. But then of course you get the line that says like, I don't think there can be any ducking out at this stage. It's down to the rules. You're obliged. Harry will just have to do the best he, and then that's when the door opens.
It feels like he's trying to just be like, nope, it's down to the rules. You're obliged. Harry will just have to do the best he can. Next, we're going to have the people come in and we'll tell you about the task, and then we'll go to bed. Okay, everyone cool with that?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Well, let's just skate right on past it and keep going.
Now, curious group of people walks in, Ben.
Yes, indeed.
Have to say.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because we have Dumbledore followed closely by Mr. Crouch. So those two totally make sense. Professor Karkaroff, Madam Maxine.
Right.
They're the heads of houses. Yep. Professor McGonagall, I guess, Deputy Headmistress, and Professor Snape.
For why? Why is Snape here?
Yeah, it's like, if you want to think that like maybe even like McGonagall's there on behalf of like Harry as his head of house.
That makes sense to me.
But then it's like Cedric is from Hufflepuff. It's like, why is it not like Sprout?
Right. Like, even if Snape, it's weird that Snape's there. He has no reason to be there as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
But even if he just wanted to show up because he's interested, there is still a definite lack of Pomona Sprout in this room.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Like, it's like, one way or another, Sprout should just be there, like putting an arm around Cedric and
like,
glowing with pride. You've done it.
Yes.
I knew you could.
Where is Sprout?
Right. Yes, exactly. Madam Maxine, they are saying this little boy is to compete also. Somewhere.
Does she not know who Harry is?
I know. Yeah. So somewhere under Harry's numb disbelief, he felt a ripple of anger. Little boy.
I know.
And I threw in a little, I am the chosen one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if you know this or not. But,
just hold on. Maybe you haven't heard. I defeated Voldemort, but I do love
Twice.
that Harry.
3 times.
3 times at this point. No one's keeping track or anything.
Y'all, Through the Gryffindor is sponsored by Shopify. Y'all, my early Slytherin roots led me to being what my family not so affectionately refers to as an ideas junkie. More ideas than what either I or they knew what to do with. Fortunately for them, my Ravenclaw tendencies hadn't quite burst to the surface, and I couldn't figure out how to get most of my bad ideas off of the ground until, of course, Shopify showed up. And Shopify makes it so easy to start an online business that even a Hufflepuff could do it, which is to say, at least in significant part, me. Shopify has ready-to-go templates that can get you off the ground in no time flat, like a Gryffindor broom jockey on his first day of flying lessons, am I right? The point is, no matter what your skill set, Shopify is a unifying force that helps you do business your way and magically, or probably more through like clever systems design, and grows with you as your business grows. We use it for our own mercantile, and now you can get the same checkout that we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Griffin. That's all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Griffin to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Griffin.
But I love how even in his confusion, Harry is like, he feels like offended by this. He's like, well, hold on now. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like, good for you, Harry. Have a little pride.
Just like a little, just enough.
Yeah,
Just enough. Then you get a line from Madame Maxine, who says, "What is the meaning of this, Dumbledore?" And it says, she said imperiously. And that's another one where it's like, it's this term is being thrown around a bit, especially related to Madame Maxine. And I think because she kind of has this rather serious intensity. There's like a moment like where she like walks into the Great Hall and all the students from Beauxbaton like stand up, and like the rest of the students are kind of like, what are you standing for? Like that's kind of like an odd one, but like they wait until Madame Maxine has like sat down before they like retake, their own seats. And I do think that this is like, it's far more subtle than what we're gonna get with Ludo or Karkaroff or maybe Snape, if you want to throw his hat in there as well for this book. But that usage of this like Imperius tone, I think, and then of course having just learned about the unforgivable curses, it feels like no mistake.
I mean, it feels, yeah, you're right. It felt like, I mean, the Imperius curse and Imperiously are like, they are spelled differently, but obviously they sound the exact same.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, I think you're right. You're coming off the heels of learning about the unforgivable curses. She says Imperiously. So it's like, is she under the Imperius curse? Could she have Imperius someone else?
Right.
Like, it's just like, it flirts around in your brain. You're like, wait a second, what?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nothing too overt. In the meantime, then Karkaroff follows up and he says, 2 Hogwarts champions. I don't remember anyone telling me the whole school is allowed 2 champions. Or have I not read the rules carefully enough? Which I'm like, have you read the rules at all?
I'm like, everybody's gonna make it sound like they got that book in the mail and absolutely leaf through it.
Yes. But I can believe actually that Karkaroff would have read it, because I can imagine him trying to look for loopholes to cheat.
I could see that as well. But then, we get a line from Madame Maxine that says, Hogwarts cannot have 2 champions. It is most unjust. And it's just like, true. Yeah, that's a good point.
It is.
It is absolutely most unjust.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
But then, Karkaroff, I love this line. It says, "We were under the impression that your age line would keep out younger contestants, Dumbledore." Which I'm like, I'm sorry, are you threatened by Harry here? Like, what's the problem? Like, that's your concern? You think Harry's gonna beat Crumb? Like, I don't know. And then he said, he follows it up and says, "Otherwise, we would, of course," I'm making him way too French. "Otherwise, we would, of course, brought along a wider..." I'm still doing it. Oh, my gosh. "We would have brought, of course, a wider selection of candidates from our own schools." And I'm like, wait, you have more qualified younger students than what you brought?
I know. Yeah, I was like, did you not just already bring your second best option in addition to Crumb?
"We would, of course, have brought along a wider selection of candidates from our own schools." There we go. That was better. I got it.
Well done. I mean, it took a few tries.
Yeah.
I was just going to do it in my classic Southern accent. We would have, of course, brought along a wider selection of candidates from our own schools.
Southern Karkaroff is great.
Yeah. Then out of nowhere, it's like Snape chimes in and he's like, "It's no one's fault but Potter's, Karkaroff. Don't go blaming Dumbledore for Potter's determination to break the rules. He has been crossing lines ever since he got here."
It also says his eyes are alight with malice.
Yes. It's like, this to me is Snape, like kind of, it's like an old married couple who was trying to pick up an argument that they left off like a few days ago, and it's like, I wasn't finished arguing with you yet.
Yeah.
It's like, Snape, is now the moment for like Harry's rule breaking? I don't know. It's, I mean, maybe, but anyway, then we get another little politeness from Dumbledore that says, "Thank you, Severus."
He said firmly.
Yeah, which we can only imagine was more like,
Thank you, Severus. Yeah. Oh, just wait for like 3 more sentences, Ben.
I know. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
I know.
Was that like really loud in your ears?
No, it wasn't. It was fine.
It was okay.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
I feel bad for the people who are sleeping right now, listening to the episode.
They're like, what's happening? Oh.
What's Severus doing now?
I know.
Anyway, yep. So continue.
Okay, so next it says, Professor Dumbledore was now looking down at Harry, who looked right back at him, trying to discern the expression on his eyes behind the half-moon spectacles. So what they're doing is just making eye contact there, which makes it sound like Harry's looking at Dumbledore, but of course what Dumbledore's doing is like legitimancing Harry, trying to figure out like what happened. Did you put your name? Do you really have no idea what's going on right here?
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
So then
he asks the question.
He asks the question. He says it. He says, "Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire, Harry?"
He asked calmly.
Calmly.
I don't know. I mean, my copy, I may have had a misprint. Mine is not in all caps.
No.
Is yours?
Well, no, it's not. It's
Okay.
just in regular print.
Well, I added, I think, 13 exclamation points just to make sure.
Just to make sure, yeah.
That, like if
Bit of a misprint.
Anyone who eventually gets this page,
Yeah.
from my copy as those go out, that people understand the proper inflection.
This is the page you want for sure. It's the "Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire, Harry?" he asked calmly page. Like I highlighted it with extra fun things. Which so if you're wondering if you want to put your name yourself in the lottery for this, just anyone who's an annual patron over on our Patreon at any level will get a page from our books.
From the books. That's correct.
Annually. But while we're talking about that, I should mention, maybe if you're watching on YouTube, you have noticed just the slightest change of the set today. Because, very fun. If you look right here on top of the books, and if you're not, we have on our set a candle burning, and it is one of our brand new candles that we have like invented, like Weasley Wizard Wheezes style.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, this is something that we've been working on for, I think, well over 2 years at this point in time. We call it the sorting candle.
The sorting candle, you guys.
And here's the idea. So when you get it, it is a completely white candle.
Yes.
Pull it out of the box, light the wicks. Then as it burns, you will reach a stage that will turn either green, red, blue, or yellow.
Right.
And the candle will turn colors, letting you know which house you've been sorted into.
So there you go.
We've been burning ours now for a couple of hours. And we had not seen it when we started recording.
Yeah.
As I look over now, it's green.
It's green. Yes, so the wax on this candle is green. So I guess we're in Slytherin.
We're in Slytherin.
This candle has sorted us into Slytherin. And so when you buy it, you won't be able to choose like what color you want it to be. You'll just have to see where you get sorted.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you'd like to have your own sorting experience, you can check that out at carlinbrothersmercantile.com.
They are on sale now. It is it's so fun. It's so fun. We burned one upstairs and it turned blue, and that was cool. And I was like, "What's this one going to be? What's this one going to be?"
We've been having so much
We
fun
haven't so much fun with it. So yes, check them out. Sorting Candles, carlinbrothersmercantile.com.
There you go.
Anyway, back to the chapter where Dumbledore is finished calmly asking Harry whether or not he put his name in there, which of course, no. But Snape, back in the background, just made a soft noise of impatient disbelief in the shadows. Like, dude, get over it. You're not even supposed to be here.
I know. And certainly Snape knows that Dumbledore is capable of legitimacy.
Yes.
Like, the thing is that like, I think that Snape at times is not using it on Harry in the name of assuming the worst.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like, if he just read his mind, it would be like, you can do that.
You can
now.
do that.
Like just read his mind. You will know that he did not do this.
Yeah.
But then we get another interesting line that says, "Did you ask an older student to put it in the Goblet of Fire for you?"
Yep.
And that is another one of those moments where it's sort of like, oh, you could have just done that.
Yeah. Like the fact that Dumbledore is asking it is like proof that it would have worked.
It would have worked.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. He's like, I really can't believe no one thought of it. It was pretty obvious.
I know,
honestly.
yeah. And then Madame Maxine chimes in. She says, "But of course he is lying." And it's like, it's like, guys, there is Veritaserum that we will use in this book.
That's true.
There is occlumency. Like, there are methods of determining whether or not somebody is lying. Like, it feels like this would be the moment to be like, Harry, like, unfortunately, because of the life and death circumstances that could be involved with competing in such a tournament, we need to know everything.
Yes, and we need to know. We need everyone to be on the same page about whether you tried to be in the tournament or not.
Right, because that's the other thing too, is that like this should spark an investigation that doesn't stop the whole school year. Like you would think that everybody at all, because at some point in time, everybody just accepts that there's 4 champions and never really goes back to this like confusion. But you would think that this would be the kind of thing that like people would be like really hung up on and be like, why did this happen? Like we've had how many of these? Like hundreds?
Yeah.
And it's like, and we've never
figured out what happened here.
Like, and it's never spat out 4 names before.
I can even see like this being a good way to introduce like priori incantatem. Like it's just sort of, and like, you know, like it being like, okay, Harry, we're going to investigate, you know, we're going to go to everyone's wand basically.
Yeah.
And just do it. And like Moody, you'll help, you'll do it. And of course, then he won't get checked.
Yes.
And he'll skate by anyway.
Right. Yeah. Naturally.
Because he'll be the one conducting the investigation. But yeah, like, you know, then you'd understand how priori incantatem worked, which I guess it's already in here, but whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it seems like we need to get everyone on the same page that Harry like didn't put his name in, because they're all just going to continue to think that he's just lying, and whatever Dumbledore says, sure, we have to listen to Dumbledore because whatever, he's the greatest wizard, but we don't really believe him.
Yeah. He's the headmaster of the host school too. So anyway, then we get a line from Professor McGonagall, who just has total faith in Dumbledore. He could not have crossed the age line. I'm sure we all agreed on that. And then Madame Maxine is like, Dumbledore must have made a mistake. and Dumbledore says, it is possible, of course, said Dumbledore. Politely.
So
I'm telling you guys, the strength of character thing I think is on proud display in this book.
Yeah, although I mean, it says he said politely, so maybe the appropriate reading was, "It is possible, of course," said Dumbledore politely.
Yeah, exactly,
yes.
exactly. It's going to be very, very interesting in the HBO series to see how they depict this whole scene.
How they depict it, right?
At this point, there is nobody who is involved with any project attached to Harry Potter who doesn't know about this particular problem,
right?
And so there's just no way in the world. Like it's like, do you stick with a more antagonistic Dumbledore in the name of like, this is how the TV shows depict it, or do you like correct it completely? And then everybody's like people are going to be sitting on the edge of their seat waiting for this to happen.
Oh, I mean, if I was John Lithgow, I'd be thinking about this line more than any other line. I'd be practicing it right now.
Yes.
I'd be like, I got to get ready. It's 4 years from now. I got to get it right. I got to get it right. And getting it right might mean saying it super calmly. It might mean doing the people's elbow. Who's to say?
Who knows?
You know what? I have confidence he's going to get it right. I don't know what it's going to be. Either you lean hard into the joke that when you do it on screen, Dumbledore is out of control in this moment.
Right.
Or you try and correct it and make it exactly like the book.
Exactly.
Right. So what are we going to do? We are at a crossroads here, Lithgow. It's up to you. Anyway, we'll find out in like 5 years.
Yeah.
But until then, I love McGonagall's response when Dumbledore says, "It's possible I messed up," and she's like, "Dumbledore, you know perfectly well you did not make a mistake." Like, just like defending him from himself. Just be like, "Don't be ridiculous."
Really? What nonsense?
Really? Yes. And Professor Dumbledore, but yeah, she's just like, McGonagall's just got to tell how it is. It's like, if Professor Dumbledore believes he can persuade an older student to do it for him, I'm sure that should be enough for everyone else. End of discussion. And then she shoots an angry look at Snape, which I love. She's just like, I dare you. Snape, Severus, not the time. Okay. All right. This isn't the staff room. His life might be in danger. So just keep it yourself. All right. You got it. You cool? We good? We good?
Do you want to go? Do you want to go?
Who won the House Cup last year? Me. Who won it last year before that? Me too. Guess why? Picked Harry. Ha!
Yeah. Anyway, Mr. Crouch, Mr. Bagman, said Karkaroff in his voice, unctuous once more. You are our objective judges. Surely you will agree this is most irregular.
I love how he calls it's Karkaroff calling them our objective judges is that what he's also saying is, I am unobjective. Yeah. I am not objective.
I have not. Yes.
You are our objective judges compared to me, a biased judge.
Right. Yep. So Bagman wiped his round, boyish face with his handkerchief and looked at Mr. Crouch, who was standing outside the circle of the firelight, his face half hidden in shadow. He looked slightly eerie. And that is, of course, going to be due to the Imperius curse, I believe, that is currently sitting on top of him. Which I believe we were on one foot than the other, trying to remember if it was Barty Crouch Jr. or Voldemort. It is Voldemort who puts him under the Imperius curse. Just as a piece of recollection.
For what it's worth.
Because I think we couldn't remember last episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, he looks slightly eerie. The half darkness making him look much older, giving him an almost skull-like appearance, which is very, I feel like
Dark
it's very...
mark.
Yes, exactly. Very foreboding. When he spoke, however, it was with his usual curt voice.
Right.
We must follow the rules. And this is something I wonder whether or not it's true, because if he is under the Imperius curse, what he is saying right now could also be part of him being under the Imperius curse.
Exactly.
So it's like, does Harry actually have to compete, or is our most objective person at hand being forced to say he must compete?
Right. It's just like, well, like, let's go check the rules. It's like, well, let's go ask Barty, because he set up the tournament and knows all the rules. He'll know what to do. And he's just like, it's like, but it's like, maybe if he wasn't under the Imperius curse, it could be like, no, there's a pretty simple fix here. Like, we'll just whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Right. But that doesn't matter, because they all just trust him implicitly that he cares about rules, and you, the reader, have been told that that's all this guy cares about. Look how much Percy looks up to him, and he says he must compete, which will be taken as truth, and they will walk forward with this. But it is possible that he is being forced to say this through the Imperius curse, and that it is not true.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yep. And then this is where, again, Ludo was going to have some more red herring situation. Well, Barty knows the rule book back to front, said Bagman, beaming and turning back to Karkaroff and Madame Maxine as though the matter was now closed.
Yeah.
So he this is another one where he's just sort of like, okay, let's stop talking about it. Like, time to continue.
This is done. And even earlier, where it says Bagman wiped his round, boyish face with his handkerchief. You can just imagine that in a movie where it's just like, like feeling nervous and a little like, hey, let's move past this, guys. Come on now.
Precisely. Yeah. Yes. It's one of two things. It's like either I'm about to be caught or my plan is about to not work. And either which way, it makes him seem awfully guilty.
It does. So we don't know about that, but let's see. Where do we move down? Karkaroff has returned to his unctuous tone. I don't know if he's speaking. I don't know if he's got his fruity tone back either.
Just unctuous and fruity. I know. I literally, I wrote that up above where it said that his voice is unctuous, and I said and fruity.
And fruity. Yeah. His face wore a very ugly look indeed. That's just supposed to be more shade at Karkaroff. And then he says, we're going to keep putting names in the Goblet of Fire. And Bagman comes in, but Karkaroff, it doesn't work like that. The Goblet of Fire has just gone out. It won't reignite to the start of the next tournament. And this is kind of like what we talked about last time. Like, does that mean that every 5 years it just lights for 24 hours? Like, even when it's not in play, it's like, whoom,
I would be under the belief that yes, that is what happens.
Right. Yeah.
Because it would almost seem like the ceremony is like based around when you must set it up.
Right.
Like, that's when everything sort of revolves around.
Yeah.
Which also happens to be Halloween, which is kind of interesting.
I know. Yeah. That means if that's the case, because it seems like this is a really difficult object to tamper with. So it seems like the Triwizard Tournament must always launch on Halloween for some reason.
Yeah, it's a very
That's
Halloween
interesting.
sport.
I haven't thought about it like that before.
Right.
I mean, I guess that would always be near the beginning of any given school year.
It would be near the beginning of any school year. It's also kind of got a little bit of an ominous air about it. I mean, it's the night that the Potters are murdered.
Exactly.
So, there's a little bit of that, and people have died in the tournament before as well.
Yeah.
And it gives us something to do on Halloween, which is always ever important in the Harry Potter series.
You know it. Of course, Karkaroff says, I have half a mind to leave now, and we get to double down on no, if your champion is chosen, they must compete. They've all got to compete. Binding magical contract, like Dumbledore said. Convenient, eh? Which now Moody has entered the chat.
Has he been there the whole time, or is it? I kind of imagine him standing in the shadows.
It says Moody had just entered the room, so this is him.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yep, there we go.
Yep. So basically kind of what he's saying is a binding magical contract. The only other one we really know about is the unbreakable vow, which if you break, you die. So they never say it out loud, but it seems like that's the implication that if Crumb left and didn't compete, he would die.
That's how we've always sort of taken
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's kind of what it comes back to.
Yes.
But then, he says, the convenient A, which of course it's very convenient for Barty Crouch Jr.,
Yes.
who now gets exactly what he wants.
Yep.
And then Karkaroff is like, convenient? I'm afraid I don't understand you, Moody. And I'm sort of like, that's fair. Like, I also don't understand from Karkaroff's perspective how it's convenient.
Yeah.
Other than, I guess, the otherwise belief that what he is suggesting, it's like, yeah, convenient that he has to compete now, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, what he's saying, he sort of explains it. He says, don't you? It's very simple. Someone put Potter's name in that goblet knowing he'd have to compete if it came out, which this is him. So what he's saying is it's convenient that he's forced to compete because someone must have put his name in there knowing he'd have to compete and they might be trying to kill him.
Right.
So it's convenient that now he must. But that someone is, of course, him, Barty Crouch Jr., who put the name in. And this is him explaining his plan out loud to the room.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see here. And then Madame Maxine,
Madame Maxine says, evidently someone who wished to give Hogwarts 2 bites at the apple. It's just like, everyone thinks this only has to do with the competition.
Yeah. It's like, guys, who are we dealing with here? It's Harry.
Yeah, it's Harry.
It's almost certainly more nefarious.
Right. Like someone who wanted to give them 2 bites at the apple, don't you think maybe they would have picked like a different 7th year student?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Not this particular very famous boy for one very particular famous reason. And wasn't there just a dark mark in the air like 8 weeks ago?
I know. I also love that Karkaroff says, I shall be lodging complaints with the Ministry of Magic and the International Confederation of Wizards meaning, if I'm doing my math right, he will be complaining to Barty Crouch and Dumbledore, who are just both in the room.
Yes. Yeah. I have the exact same note here because Dumbledore, as we know from the Chocolate Frog card, is the head of the Wizengamot and the International Confederation of Wizards.
Yeah.
And it's or Chief Warlock on the International Confederation of Wizards. So it's like literally the people you would complain to are right
in the
there,
room.
And they're the people you're currently mad at.
Yes. So I would say you're already complaining. But Moody, of course, has a different tack. He says, if anyone's got reason to complain, it's Potter. But, funny thing, I don't hear him saying a word. Why should they complain? Burst out Fleur Delacour. One, because of what Harry said, didn't put his name in. Duh. And this is where Harry needs to speak up and say, I don't want to compete. But again, he won't say it. No one will say that. That would clear up a lot of confusion on everyone's part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the honor for our schools, 1,000 galleons in prize money. This is a chance many would die for.
This is a chance.
Yeah, Zigrindilos. Yes, and yeah, many would die for, and one will.
Yeah, he says, just not who they're aiming for.
Right. The Cedric Too Soon jokes have become one of our favorite pastimes.
Which is one of our favorites. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, but Moody. Maybe someone's hoping Potter is going to die for it, which they are, and it's you.
Yes.
Again. It's like, it is amazing to me how we can spell out the plan so out loud, so in front of them, and no one suspects him.
Right.
I mean, including myself.
No, I know. Yeah. Then Ludo's like, Moody, old man, what a thing to say.
I know. It's like, this just makes Bagman look more suspicious because you're reading it and you're like, it looks like Bagman heard it and was like, what? No, no one's trying to kill Harry. What a thing to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Doesn't look great for Ludo.
Doesn't look great for Ludo.
Right.
Not at all.
And then Karkaroff chimes in again. He says, apparently Moody is trying to teach his students to fear assassination too, an odd quality in a defense against the dark arts teacher, Dumbledore. But no doubt you had your reasons. I'm like, is this that odd of a quality? Like,
I know, right?
Like fearing being attacked feels like the point of defense against the dark arts.
And it says, but no doubt you had your reasons. And it's like, well, also like not for nothing, but the last 3 have all endangered Harry's life.
Also true.
Yes. Yeah. Like Quirrell tried to kill him and Lockhart tried to erase his memory and Lupin turned into a werewolf. The least effective werewolf of all time, but he was, near Harry.
But still.
Yeah. He didn't even get Snape. Jeez. See our published work. Anyway, Moody comes back and says, imagining things, am I? Seeing things, eh? It was a skilled witcher wizard who put that boy's name in the goblet, which, like, you know, nice flex. Yeah.
He's like super, super hard, by the way. Like
super difficult. Whoever did this is like, I mean, they're like a really powerful wizard. Really good. Probably really handsome, too. Just saying. I don't know. Who's
Dumbledore,
to say?
do you hand out gold stars by chance? I'll give it to whoever I think.
Whenever we find it is. Yeah, like they are good. It would have needed an exceptionally strong Confundus charm. Not to pat myself on the back or anything, but like some of my best work.
Yeah.
And you know, he is right, of course. It is an exceptionally powerful, skilled witcher wizard and an exceptionally strong Confundus charm, because those are all exactly the things that he did do.
Yep.
He made it forget that there's only 3 schools in the tournament, and I'm guessing they submitted Potter's name under a 4th school. So this is basically us learning how it was done, especially when you know that it's him.
Yes.
So what 4th school? I'd love to know. I wish there had been at least a mention of a 4th school in this book.
It would have been fun, like Ilvermorny
Wagadu or Ilvermorny or something. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Would have just been cool to be like, who's he fighting for?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. You know, this is Harry. This is from Ilvermorny, right? Can you imagine them over at Ilvermorny just like, what? That's cool.
What?
Do we got a trophy?
We got a guy?
I would love it if that was the case. If ever there's like an Ilvermorny, like a Hogwarts Legacy, but for Ilvermorny, if there's just like a trophy where it's like Hogwarts champion, like Triwizard champion Harry Potter, Ilvermorny.
That would be awesome.
That would be the best of
the
Easter
trophy
eggs.
belongs to them.
Like he was technically he wore Hogwarts stuff, but he was technically entered under Ilvermorny. So there it is.
Yeah,
That's
we'll
their
take
champion.
We'll take the win.
Yeah. That sounds like a fun fact you would hear about on a guided tour through something.
Yes, it definitely does.
Yeah.
It definitely does. Okay, let's see here. What do we got
This
next?
is where he says, where Karkaroff speaks up again and says, you seem to have given this a great deal of thought, Moody, which he sure has, because he's the one who did it. But this is what we were talking about earlier, where Karkaroff is the other most suspicious person in the room at the moment. And he brings up a good point. He's like, at the moment, he's like about to accuse Moody of it, but this is what we were talking about. Moody flips it around right away, and he says, there are those who will turn innocent occasions to their advantage. It's my job to think the way dark wizards do, Karkaroff, as you might remember. Which, of course, turning innocent occasions to their advantage, that's exactly what he's doing. And like we said earlier, it was and is his job to think like dark wizards, because he is a dark wizard.
Yes.
Yep. Then we get the name reveal of Mad-Eye Moody at Alastor, because Dumbledore kind of shuts him down here as he's about to reveal that Karkaroff was a Death Eater, which presumably everyone in the room except the students already know.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you do get a line, let's see here. Harry wondered for a moment who he was speaking to, but then realized that Mad-Eye could hardly be Moody's real first name. One of the interesting things, we did look this up because I did not know this myself prior to doing this chapter, but the name Alastor, if you were to actually go and look up the etymology of it, one of the first meanings is the word, or is to look.
Yeah.
And so I guess that would make it an infinitive. Is that the right
is it
term? Yeah. I believe that's right. But anyway, but that's interesting because obviously, if his name isn't Mad-Eye, his other name also means
to use your eyes.
to use your eyes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Which is just kind of like a fun little oh wow, look at that.
Yeah, there you go. But so yeah, he gets shut down by Dumbledore right there, and then it says Karkaroff's face was burning because he knows his secret is on the line. He doesn't want, I guess, the students to find out. Maybe Crumb doesn't know. I don't know. That'd probably be a bad thing to tell him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's the kind of thing you don't want out there. Is that you used to be a former Death Eater, and I mean, I'm sure that would damage your credibility in a lot of circles rather quickly.
Yes. It says, and then Dumbledore is trying to just end the situation. He says, how the situation arose, we do not know. It seems to me, however, that we have no choice but to accept it. This is kind of a very rare situation where Dumbledore doesn't really have a solution. It's I think in Prisoner of Azkaban, it was there's a moment where he comes in and Harry's this was, he expected Dumbledore to walk in with a solution. This is the first time he didn't have one. And it's but he kind of did. He just wasn't going to do it himself.
Exactly.
And this time he actually doesn't. And he seems really concerned about it. Madame Maxime speaks up. She says, but Dumbledore. And he's like, my dear Madame Maxime, if you have an alternative, I would be delighted to hear it. And he's being very polite, but I think he is literally begging her for a solution. if you have a way out, please tell me.
Yes, exactly. Which I think is like the right thing to say in this situation too, because it's like he can't really like defend it or anything, and I don't think he's really trying to. It's just sort of like, what do you suggest we do?
Right.
You know, like, I mean, if we can not do it, like, let's not do it. But I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Which is surprising, because I did have that, like, you know, even how the situation arose, we do not know, and I was like, take a guess. Like,
right?
You know, it's like your guesses are usually good.
Have a guess. Well, it seems like Moody's already put the best guess out there.
Exactly.
But who did it? But so Snape looks furious. I don't know why. He's just like mad that Harry gets to compete. I don't know.
Right.
Bagman looks excited. Now, if you're reading it, it looks as if like Bagman was nervous. His plan wasn't going to work. They were going to find a way out. And it's like, well, it's settled. Good.
Yes.
Yep. So that's why he looks excited. Of course, the real reason he's excited because he's going to bet on Harry to win. Then he's going to try and help him cheat so that he does win.
Yep.
Then it says, let's see. What show shall we crack on then? Got to give out the champions their instructions, haven't we? Barty, you want to do the honors? And Mr. Crouch seemed to come out of his deep reverie. That's because he's just sort of zoning out when he's not being spoken to because he's under the Imperius curse.
I kind of imagine him like vaguely slack jawed, just sort of like staring off, like, you know, at the crackling embers or something, just sort of like,
right. Yes.
Yeah. I was listening. Totally.
Definitely listening. Now Harry gets a closer look up at him, and it says, he looked ill. There were dark shadows beneath his eyes and a thin, papery look about his wrinkled skin that had not been there at the Quidditch World Cup.
That's a major red flag, though, for someone who otherwise was described as being like so well tended to. It's like, something has happened to this man.
Yeah. But what?
And that's like another one of those where like, and I think the Harry Potter books can do this in a way that like works rather well, but like, because we're seeing things a lot of times like through Harry's mind, it's like if Harry's not exceptionally preoccupied with something, then we, the reader, also don't spend that much time worrying about it because we're not like kind of given the opportunity to. So if Harry decides to look past this, then we do as well. And really, there's no reason for Harry not to look past it once he leaves the room, because he's going to be overwhelmed by the loss of Ron as a friend, by all the stress associated with, you know, people backing Cedric instead of him, the dangers of the first task and not knowing what he's up against. Like,
so
you know, it's not confusing as to why he doesn't end up being like, like the Crouch Senior seemed off. What's up with that?
Yeah. Right. Like they will eventually start noticing that he doesn't keep showing up, but it's like he's not worried about it yet.
Right. Yeah. So then we learned that the first task is designed to test your daring. And of course, partially I wonder at all going through their minds right now, they're like, crap, we gotta get a fourth dragon from somewhere.
Oh, I know. Somewhere someone's like, oh man.
Yeah, it's like, did we have a fourth one ready? It's like there's a fourth one, but it's way worse than the other three.
They're like, well, we were only going to do. Do you think that the Horntail is the fourth one they added?
I think the Horntail's the fourth one, and it's like almost like it would have been like the alternative, but it was like it was worse.
Yeah,
you know, it's like the other three I think are in like, you know, they're all like 8s out of 10. I think the Horntail's 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Seems so. I feel like the other one. I feel like the Welsh Green could be the last one. They were like, oh no, we need another one. We got a lot of these. These are really easy to get.
They're just right around the corner.
We had some like fun, different ones. These are a little local, but you know what? We're just going to give you one.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the other heads of house is like, you know, didn't Hogwarts used to be a dragon?
Didn't Hogwarts?
that's an Easter egg to one of our old theories that we discovered on this very show. So that's just fun.
Which thank you to everyone who came out on tour, because we completely sold out of our Hogwarts as a dragon pins.
I know we're going to have to order new ones.
I know we're going to have to get new ones, bigger ones.
Yeah. It's going to be great.
We'll keep you posted.
More tours inbound.
Exactly.
Anyway, let's see here. So the first task will take place on November the 24th.
Trivia.
A little bit of trivia there.
Mm-hmm.
That's one that I feel like comes up. So, you know, try to lodge that
November the 24th. Got it. Okay, it says the champions are not permitted to ask for help from any kind from their teachers to compete in the task in the tournament, but they will all get it. Not one single person will not be cheating.
Yep. Out of everything that is so hard to like, the fact that they can't just like let Harry sit out, like the binding magical contract, like everything about this is so rigid. That rule is totally flimsy.
Yeah, I know, right? That one, like, you must compete, but it's not like if cheating occurs, it's like, hey, wait a minute.
Right. It's like, you can't do that.
Yeah. The magically binding part of it doesn't extend its knowledge to that. And also they get the news that they're exempted from end of year tests. But now did you say last time Cedric is in 6th year or 7th year?
He's a 6th year.
Okay. So he's not actually going to miss like his NEWTs then.
I don't.
I mean,
think
he is going to miss them. But
oh, we did it again. We did a Dedrick.
a Dedrick.
I'm sorry. The world over. And if it's anything like how it happens on tour, I feel like that's where like the audience is like they're like, oh guys, no.
The real trick, you know, you're having a good night. It's if by the end of the night you can get everyone else laughing at the Dedrick jokes.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. But then I love Crouch here. He finishes up. He says, "I think that's all. Is it Albus?" He doesn't even check with Ludo.
Yeah.
Like the other guy who played the tournament.
Right.
Just like Albus there. Of course, he's under the Imperius curse, so there's maybe that as well. I think so, said Dumbledore, who's looking at Mr. Crouch with mild concern. So even Dumbledore is noticing. He's like, something's off about you.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I highlighted that and underlined it. I was just like, man, if he was like seeing the signs before, then it's like at this point, Dumbledore is witnessing, you know, this high-ranking official who is acting very strangely, and combining that with the fact that, you know, Harry Potter's name just came out of the Goblet of Fire. He's like, in this moment, like Dumbledore is fully fighting Voldemort in the back of his mind.
Oh,
like
that's
where he's working.
He's trying to figure out who put his name in there, and he's looking at Barty like, you look kind of weird right now.
Just a bit suspicious.
And then he invites him to stay at Hogwarts, to which he says, no, Dumbledore, I must go back to the Ministry. To which I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? How late is it supposed to be? You've already had dinner. Like, it is like, I don't know, like well into the night. What are you going back to the office to do? Like, you're going back to work? And then he says, it's a very busy, very difficult time at the moment. And it's like, no, it actually really isn't, though. Like, this is the main thing you're doing right now.
This is the thing that's very busy. But he does say, and this is kind of interesting. It says, I've left young Weatherby in charge. Very enthusiastic, a little over enthusiastic, if truth be told. And this is kind of interesting because, like, we have brought up a bunch of times that we think that Percy might be under the Imperius curse. And I've largely always assumed that it would have taken place pretty much like just once he like leaves school. But this inclusion is kind of interesting because like Barty Crouch Sr. is like, he's fighting the Imperius curse, but not very well. And so it's hard to know whose insecurity this is. Is it Barty Crouch Sr.'s or is it Barty Crouch Jr.'s? Because if it's juniors and this like over enthusiastic nature is there, it's like, we just hired somebody who's paying very close attention
to Mr. Crouch. Yeah.
And if he starts to seem off, then that kid is going to notice.
Right.
And he's not going to, like, he's going to be a pain about it.
Yeah.
And so I almost think like that could be the reason that it's like, we need to put him under the Imperius curse because he is a liability to the rest of us.
I mean, I think that's a huge, definite theory there.
Yeah.
For sure. Cause it's like, yeah, Percy like worships this guy and loves him.
Right.
And they're like, and you know, maybe that's even to Percy's credit then that they're like, you're going to be a problem.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And also to be fair, I mean, you know, coming from the Weasleys, it's like, this is a pretty high achieving family. So
yeah.
Anyway, let's see here. The Bagman he's still trying to have fun. It's all happening here at Hogwarts now. Much more exciting here than at the office.
Oh, but I love, this is one of my new favorite things that I've noticed reading it through this way is Dumbledore says like, oh, you're not going to stay, but you'll come have a drink before you go at least, which if you recall in the last book when after Dumbledore, after they don't kill Witherwings.
Buckbeaks.
Yeah.
Sorry, Buckbeak.
Ben Witherwings. They're going to find him. After they don't do that, Dumbledore's looking out the window and he's like, well, that's a real shame. Anyone, Hagrid, could you fetch, maybe you could get me a cup of tea or a large cup of brandy. Like,
which is what we know they opt for.
Yes, which is what they end up going for. But his options are regular cup of tea, large cup of brandy.
Right.
And now he's like, Barty, you sure you don't want to stay? Have a drink. You'll have a drink before you go. Come on, have a drink. And he's like, no. Got to be going. I think not, Ludo. And then Dumbledore, he's not done. He's like, okay, fine. You're leaving, I guess. Professor Karkaroff? Madam Maxine, Nightcap, you guys want to have a drink?
Anybody
you guys want to come
beverage?
have a drink?
It's a total long shot. It's like
Total long
these
shot.
people are pissed, my guy.
I know. And I'm just like, will someone please have a drink with Dumbledore? All right.
Yes.
The man just wants it. And like, he's like, he likes Madame Rosemarta's oak matured meat. Even when he goes to the Dursleys, he's like, you know what? You know how I'm going to win these people over? I'm going to have a drink with them. And they're like, no chance. No chance are we drinking.
Nobody will have a drink with Dumbledore.
He's getting denied. Slughorn, apparently it almost happened. Slughorn gets him some mead that he's supposed to give to him. Doesn't. Dumbledore doesn't even know he's missing out on this one.
I know. Nobody wants to have a drink with Dumbledore.
No one will have a drink with Dumbledore.
How about it?
Until he does have a drink.
Good pause. All right. But Harry, Cedric, I suggest you go up to bed, said Dumbledore, smiling at both of them. I am sure Gryffindor and Hufflepuff are waiting to celebrate with you, and it would be a shame to deprive them of this excellent excuse to make a great deal of mess and noise.
I can't believe he does not heading back there with them. He's like, you guys think they're going to have drinks? You guys think what they're going to have up there? Maybe I'll come with you. Maybe I'll come see.
What's the black market butterbeer situation?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you guys have maybe like a 1,000 barrels of
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's also what he gets for that's what the rumor is that he gets for the Yule Ball is like 100 barrels of like a butterbeer or something.
Something like that.
Like Dumbledore is like, oh, I'm throwing a party. This is my time. Someone has to have a drink with me at the Yule Ball. It cannot be avoided. I'm going to get so much butterbeer.
I'm cashing this in.
I'm cashing in here.
Oh, man.
Just pay attention to it, guys. Dumbledore's just trying to have a drink.
Yeah. So they exit out into the Great Hall, and then Cedric looks at Harry with a slight smile. We're playing against each other again, and it's like I love the little slight smile there. Like he's still maintaining like this kindness that I feel like is just inherent to Cedric.
Right, and this is a very minor thing, but it is again exclamation point. So it's like he is excited by it. He's not even mad at Harry for like one more sentence anyway.
Yeah. So tell me, said Cedric as they reached the entrance hall, which was now lit only by torches in the absence of the Goblet of Fire. How did you get your name in? I didn't, said Harry, staring up at him. I didn't put it in. I was telling the truth.
Yeah. So frustrating when like no one is going to believe him here. And like he can tell Cedric doesn't believe him either, which how dare you, Cedric?
Right.
Yeah. Doesn't have one concern to spare. But let's
could use a spare.
Thank you. You notice how Karkaroff and Maxime are immediately just like going into conversation mode with their champions, and Dumbledore's like, all right, see ya.
Yeah, I know. The other two were like, all right, let's start cheating now.
Let's start plotting how we can win this. And Dumbledore's like, all right, I'll see you later, you guys. I don't think I need to say anything to you.
I have no more. Not
words. Even McGonagall. Sprout didn't even show up. Cedric, you're really on your own.
Where was Sprout?
Where is Sprout? I mean, she is seriously missing out.
She is.
Yeah. And then, terrible moment for Harry here. So was anyone except Ron and Hermione going to believe him? I just crossed out Ron.
Yeah.
And the answer is no. No one except Hermione is going to believe him. But then it says he even thinks about it. He's like, yeah, I thought about it, but he'd never really seriously considered entering. But someone else had wanted him in here, and he's wondering why.
Oh, and here's the moment.
Yes.
Yeah. So why would somebody enter him into the tournament? And now let me give you a multiple choice. Is it A, to give him a treat? He didn't think so somehow. To B, make a fool of himself? Mm-hmm. Well, they were likely to get their wish. C, to get him killed? Mm-hmm. Or was it D, a trick, a practical joke?
Yeah. Or D. Did anyone really want to? Yeah. The answer is, of course, secret answer 4, to resurrect Voldemort to his body. And then also C.
To get him killed.
Yes.
Yeah. So I wrote in all caps this one.
Yeah.
C, to get him killed.
This one, C. Did anyone? And then he answers his own question. Did anyone really want him dead? And he's able to answer that one immediately. Yes. Someone did want him dead. Someone had wanted him dead ever since he'd been a year old. Lord Voldemort. But how could Voldemort have ensured that Harry's name got into the Goblet of Fire? There you go. This is great. Another example of like Harry's immediate instincts just sort of getting right to the root of the problem.
Yeah.
How indeed. Yes, it's it's Voldemort, but how? How is it Voldemort? And that's sort of the question for the rest of the book, is how is that going to have been the case?
Right. Yes. Yeah. And then you kind of get like the memory back to the dream that he had at the beginning of the book, because Voldemort is supposed to be far away in a distant country, in hiding, alone, feeble, and powerless. And I was like, and yet, and then the beginning of the next sentence is yet
in that dream
he had just before he had awoken with the scar hurting, Voldemort had not been alone. He had been talking to Wormtail, plotting Harry's murder.
I know.
Dun, dun.
It's like, wow, Moody's like, maybe someone wants Harry dead. And Harry's like, does anyone want me dead? Yes. In fact, I had a dream about that exact person plotting how to kill me. I wonder if that's connected. Yes, it is, Harry.
It is. You're going to make an excellent detective one day.
Yes, someday. Then we get up to the fat lady, and she says, "Who's just been chosen as school champion then?" "Balderdash," said Harry. "It most certainly isn't." "No, Vi, it's the password," which I think is just really bad security on the fat lady's part.
I agree.
I mean, literally last year, she was slashed by Sirius Black because someone got the password, and now she's telling a known gossip about the password.
Exactly.
This is terrible. This is terrible form.
Yeah. And she's been drinking no less.
She's been drinking. I know.
Yeah. I do think it's funny though that because
not with Dumbledore.
Not with Dumbledore. Yeah, he would never. But I do think it's funny because I think Balderdash has been the password rather consistently, and I think we've seen it no fewer than 3 times so far.
Yeah.
And every time it's been used, the context has always fit the situation where somebody is saying Balderdash, and in this particular situation, Violet is there and thinks that Harry is just using it as like a response to the situation.
Right.
He's like Balderdash. It's like, no, it isn't.
No, it's not.
It's like, no. It's the password.
Yeah. Yeah, but so she opens the door, and apparently, even though everyone was really quiet and shocked down in the Great Hall, they've all had time to think about it, and in fact, they're extremely impressed with Harry. There is a party, there's whooping, screaming, applauding. How did you do it without getting a bid? Brilliant! Oh, excuse me.
That's another one as well, because like, does that mean that I don't even remember which twin successfully puts their name into the goblet, if it's Fred or George, but does that mean that they're like, I got my name in? I mean, I got a beard out of it, but like my name was still
neither of them get their name in.
I believe no,
they just take like one step across the line, and they're like, "It worked," and then the other one jumps, and then they both get thrown back.
Man,
yeah,
is that right?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we get weirdos in every breed.
Yeah. But not just Fred and George. We also have Angelina come down. We have Katie Bell come down. So basically, the entire Quidditch team is just like amped for Harry, which I guess makes sense. They're like, our teammate, yeah, let's go. We support you. Harry, of course, not interested. Keeps trying to tell everyone that he didn't enter, but it says, but no one wanted to hear that he wasn't hungry. Nobody wanted to hear he hadn't put his name in the goblet. Not one single person seemed to have noticed that he wasn't at all in the mood to celebrate. They keep trying to hand him another butterbeer, stuffing crisps and peanuts into his hands, to which I'm like, guys, this is a party. You managed to get black market butterbeer, and all you could do for snacks was chips and peanuts. I think you could do better, guys.
The snack situation is not great.
It's not good.
Yeah.
And like, we know Fred and George know how to get down to the kitchens.
Right.
You know? So there must have been leftover dessert from this feast they just had.
It's a significant plot point in this book. Visiting the kitchens.
I know. And it's like, we know that the butterbeer has to be black market because like after the OWL, Seamus and Dean are like, how many black market butterbeers do we need to celebrate up in the common room?
Right.
So like clearly same situation here.
Clearly.
And yet all they have is chips and peanuts. And I'm like, you guys could have done better. I'm disappointed. You know what? I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
That's it.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. And then finally Harry yells, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm going to bed. He wanted more than anything to find Ron and Hermione.
Well, I don't know why Hermione's not down here. Like, we know why Ron's not down here, but Hermione's just like missing for no reason.
Yeah, that's a strange one. Maybe she's just up there just trying to like think the whole night through.
She's like, you know what? Maybe I'll work on Spew.
Right. Yeah. I've got other stuff.
Got some other
projects. To his great relief, though, he found Ron was lying on his bed in the otherwise empty dormitory, still fully dressed. He looked up when Harry slammed the door behind him.
It's so tragic. He's like so happy to see Ron, and it's not going to go how he wants.
I know.
At all. Where have you been? Harry said. oh, hello. And it's like, this I think is very interesting because that's all Ron says. But then I love the next sentence. It says, Harry suddenly became aware that he was still wearing the Scarlet Gryffindor banner that Lee had tied around him. Like, he hasn't really gotten any information from Ron. Like, all he's sort of like heard one word and he's got this weird grin. And suddenly Harry is very aware, like, something's wrong. Uh-oh, it's bad that I'm wearing this.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
His brain hasn't caught up with his instincts yet, though.
Right. He hastened to take it off, but it was knotted very tightly, to which I just highlighted and then wrote, I hate it when this happens.
You know when you're wearing a cape and like you just can't get it off?
The worst.
The worst.
Oh man. Yeah. So then Ron is sort of being like very cold and passive aggressive. So congratulations.
So congratulations.
What do you mean congratulations? Said Harry, staring at Ron. There was definitely something wrong with the way that Ron was smiling. It was more like a grimace.
Yes.
Well, no one else got across the age line, said Ron. Not even Fred and George. What did you use? The invisibility cloak. And
yeah, which Harry says that wouldn't have helped. And Ron's like, oh yeah, because you could have told me if that would have covered both of us, wouldn't it? But you found another way. It's like, I didn't put my name in the goblet. Someone else must have done it. Yeah, and then this is where Harry, I feel like, has like a dumb like line of reasoning. He said is because like Ron says, why would they do that? And Harry says, I don't know. He felt it would sound very melodramatic to say, to kill me. And it's like, I don't think it would sound that melodramatic because people have tried to kill you every year.
Yeah, it's like this is actually pretty par for the course.
Right.
You know, so yeah. And then Ron's eyebrows rose so high they were in danger of disappearing into his hair. A line I read because I also drew a picture of a sad smiley face with eyebrows basically through the roof.
Amazing.
So, just another fun little detail for whoever gets this page. It's okay. You can tell me the truth, he said. If you don't want everyone else to know, that's fine. I don't know why you're bothering to lie. You didn't get in trouble for it, did you? That friend of the fat lady's, that Violet, she's already told us all that Dumbledore's letting you enter.
She just told everybody, man.
I know. She has spread the word quick, like mighty quick.
Like mighty quick. The whole cast is like, Harry Potter's a champion. Harry Potter's a champion. Harry Potter's a champion. Got to get it up there. Got to tell people the truth.
Yes, indeed. And yeah, so they also heard that about the 1,000 galleon prize money, which I thought that Ron already knew about. And you don't have to do end of year tests either.
Yeah, you didn't get in trouble. Dumbledore's letting you compete. It's like Dumbledore is not letting him. Harry is forced to compete.
Yes.
Which is another time where he should have just spoken up and be like, he's not letting me. I'm being forced to do it. This is again where he'd be like, I don't have a choice. I didn't even put my name in and now they're making me. I don't want to play.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yep. Then Ron says, yeah, okay, in a skeptical tone. I'm not stupid, you know. And then Harry says, well, you're doing a good impression of it. Which
Oh
I'm
man,
like,
you got
zing!
him. Wow. What a clap back.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. And then Ron is like, you want to get to bed, Harry? I expect you'll need to be up early for your photo call or something. And it's like, yeah.
But actually he does.
that is exactly what he wakes up to
That does
tomorrow.
what happens tomorrow. Yeah. Rita Skeeter will enter the chat.
Right.
Yep. But then I hate the last sentence. It says, Harry standing there by the door, staring at the dark red velvet curtains, now hiding one of the few people he had been sure would believe him. It's just like it just takes you right back to that chapter art where it's just like the loneliness of the situation. It's just like, yeah,
you're exactly right.
Yeah.
That's the chapter art in one.
Yep.
Unfortunately, but that does bring us to the end of chapter 17. Jay, do you have a review for us?
I sure do. Let me pull it up for us here. It says, who left this? I didn't write it down. Hold on. It says, hey, brother, great podcast. Love reading each chapter before listening every Sunday. The discussion last week of the different methods of travel, flushing the ship down the lake, was hilarious. Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you. My question is, if the Triwizard Tournament had been held at one of the other schools, how would the Dumbledore and Hogwarts students have traveled to arrive at the other schools?
Man, what a great question.
And this is by Griffin Dork 17.
Griffin Dork.
Griffin Dork.
I love it. I love it.
Great.
Yes, it's catching on. Okay, so I've thought about it like a couple of different ways. Part of me immediately goes to Thestrals because we know that Hogwarts very uniquely has a tame flock of them.
Apparently the only one in Europe.
Yes. Yeah. And they are how they travel up, to the castle from the train. So it's like we at the very least know that the Thestrals are brought into use for modes of transportation.
And we've seen at the beginning of Crimes of Grindelwald that the Thestrals can can like fly through the air carriage style, very similar to like Madame Maxime.
Yes.
Presumably they could just make a bigger carriage that would house all the students, similar to like the tent situation at the Quidditch World Cup.
Right.
Yeah.
Most certainly. I'm trying to think what else do we have for modes of transportation?
Well, there's a train, I suppose.
I guess there is the train.
Yeah.
There's some question there as to like what magical abilities it has to go to different destinations.
Right.
The main thing that kind of deters me from the Thestrals is that in my head, I would just want it to be something different. Like if you're at Durmstrang and it's like, and Madame Maxime arrived by a horse-drawn carriage, and the Hogwarts school arrived by a horse-drawn carriage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose to many students, it would look like a horseless flying carriage.
That's true. To many students, it would look like a horseless carriage. Yeah, like what else could they do? I mean, I doubt they'd just go on like broomsticks or something like that. Like you'd want some sort of dwelling
Yeah.
to stay. Apparently,
You need some type of
to
dwelling.
bring your own house kind
Right.
of situation. I guess they also have like there was like a flock of hippogriffs.
Also true.
But we only ever see, Buckbeak after that first day.
Yeah.
So like what happens to the rest of them?
I don't know.
Maybe Hagrid's making them into a casserole. I don't know.
I was gonna say there's the Talon casserole that we all know about just a
Talon
little
casserole.
too well.
Exactly. It makes like what are other ways they could travel? Like, do you think there's like a world where it's just like flu powder? They're just like, and we're here.
And we're here. I mean, flu powder certainly something that would cross my mind. If that's something that is very like we know that flu powder I think can only be purchased in one location and it's Diagon Alley. So
Right.
it is entirely possible that not everybody the world over has access to what we believe is Phoenix Ashes.
I suppose that's true. I suppose there's like I don't know if like Fawkes could transport them, like how wide his power scope goes, like if it could travel by fire in that way, like how Dumbledore escapes.
Yep.
That'd be pretty cool.
That would be interesting.
Seems less likely because then there's not as much of a dwelling, but I also just don't have a hard time thinking Dumbledore could just be like, and house.
Yes. Yeah. There's of course the giant squid.
I was honestly thinking the giant squid too.
Yeah.
What could the giant squid do? Like we never see it come into play at all.
Right.
Even when they're in the lake. So like what's its purpose? It's got to do something.
Right.
We've thought before too that maybe the giant squid like is the one dragging the boats across. Right?
Yeah, we have had that thought before.
Yeah.
Because I mean, at the very least, when Dennis Creevy falls into the water, it says that like something picked him up and put him back in.
Yeah.
And it could be that the squid is literally there for this exact function.
Right.
And I mean, yeah, how many students per boat do we think fit?
Like 4?
4. So if that would mean like 32 students approximately.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not quite enough arms if you've got 8.
You got 8. Yeah.
Yeah. Pulling
Yeah.
across the water. But
Let's see, because it would be because there'd be how many students in there? 40 students.
you would think about 40.
You think so? 10 boats. Then right. If you can get 4 students to a boat,
I'm thinking of arms on the squid.
arms on the squid. Yeah. True. So you'd have, but you only have 10 boats. You'd have to drag.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And you'd have how many limbs? 6 on a squid.
That's why I was saying 8. Is it not eight tentacles on a squid?
I thought octopuses had 8 and squids had 6.
Oh, no,
Let's see.
That's a very
now
good
we got to
question.
look it up.
I feel
how
like
many
my-
tentacles does a squid have?
My aquarium knowledge is failing me here. Not that it would particularly make a difference for this particular question, but now we just need to know.
Yeah. Squids have 8 arms and 2 tentacles. So 10. Hey, 10
Okay.
it is. The
10
the giant squid drags the boats.
We
you heard
nailed
it
it.
here first.
Yes, and that means there is canonically 10 students per house, 5 boys, 5 girls.
Yep.
4 houses.
Every year it always works out magically. They pay the math budget and the magic does the work to make sure Hogwarts has the exact number of students it needs.
The bottleneck is the squid.
The bottleneck is the squid. How are we going to get them across the lake?
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Can't do it.
Can't magic these boats across.
No, that would be way too difficult.
Way
We definitely
ridiculous.
haven't
Yeah,
seen
come on.
Hagrid do it
Yeah.
in Harry's first year.
Exactly. Well, Hagrid clearly Hagrid does it to his own boat when he's
True,
leading
yes.
the students across.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
right,
a good
right,
point.
right.
Yeah. That's why he knows that spell.
Exactly. Yeah. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Actually,
Yeah,
that's
it
a
does
good
make
point
sense.
too.
Yeah, because there are 13 or there are 11 boats. No. Yeah, 11 boats.
Yeah. Yeah. What else could they do? Flying car. There's one in the forest.
Yes,
You
yeah.
have to make it a lot bigger.
Right. Yeah.
But we've seen them do that.
We have seen them
Probably
do
couldn't
that.
stay in that. Probably not acromantulas. Can't use those.
No.
What other ways do they have to fly? or move around. I think we're pretty much covering all of it. I like the giant squid as some sort of way that we don't know yet that it could like magically do it. And I like I think Thestrals is probably the most likely.
Right.
Because it would be unique to Hogwarts. It's still very cool, and we've seen other examples of that exact form of travel.
Yeah, I think Thestrals is maybe like the least thrilling, but like in a world where you don't have like the other explanations, or even in a world where it's hosted at like Beauxbaton, and like what you end up seeing is the Durmstrang still use the ship, and like Hogwarts just comes in on the horseless carriage,
right?
Which of course is pulled by Thestrals. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would
solve
be
that
cool.
problem. Yeah.
Yep.
So basically, as long as it's hosted at Beauxbaton, and we don't have two winged horse flying carriages,
exactly, that'd
know.
just be so lame.
Yeah. Exactly. Anyway, guys, so I think that wraps up everything for this week's episode.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to check out the sorting candles over at carlinbrothersmercantile.com, and join us next week for chapter 18, The Weighing of the Wands, here on Through the Griffin Door.
Today's episode was edited by Ethan Edghill. Vaishon Brandon does our art. Catherine Stein is our production manager, and the show is hosted by me and Jonathan Carlin.